My topic for the Wars of Religion presentation is on the assassination of William the Silent. So to get started, William the Silent is also known as William the Taciturn or William of Orange. He's the first Prince of Orange, and he lived from 1553 to 1584. He grew up in Nassau, which is in the Holy Roman Empire, as a Lutheran, but he moved to the Netherlands and got a Catholic upbringing so that he could get his inheritance at some point in his life. In his later years, Charles V gave him the title of Captain of the Cavalry in 1551, and William the Silent was present as Charles V handed Philip II as his successor. And then in 1559, Philip II came into succession and he gave William the Silent the stateholder position of Holland, Zeeland, and Utrecht, mainly meaning that he was now the governor of those three places. So because of his Lutheran and Catholic upbringing, William the Silent was an advocator of religious toleration, and he made that very known in the Council of State where he worked. And then as the Spanish Inquisition was coming into the Netherlands, the Confederacy of Noblemen formed so that they could try and petition the removal of what they thought was Spanish heresy. This never happened. The petition was not passed. So between August and October in 1565, what is known as Beldenstorm happened, and this was carried out by Protestants and was basically a violent iconoclasm where they would remove the statues and paintings in Catholic churches because they believed that images were heresy and a form of idol worship. So in response to Beldenstorm, Margaret of Parma, the governor of Spanish Netherlands, told the Confederacy of Noblemen that the Protestant persecution would stop if Beldenstorm did. And so they agreed, and Margaret of Parma appointed William to join the Confederacy of Noblemen so that he would make sure that this iconoclasm ends and that persecution ends as well. However, this persecution never stopped, and so small rebellions began to take place. In response to these rebellions, Alba, or the Iron Duke, was sent by Philip II to restore order. And this is where William gets the name William the Silent, as he was in France at the time for other reasons, and he heard the French prince talk about Alba's secret plan to carry the Spanish Inquisition in the Netherlands, meaning more persecution of Protestants would take place. Of course, William didn't know this. He thought that Alba was just coming over to end the small rebellions, and so he was silent about those plans and got more information from the French prince about Alba's specific plans to carry out the Spanish Inquisition, and that's how he got the name William the Silent or William the Taciturn. So once he learned that Alba was coming to the Netherlands, William fled to his birth town because of his financial involvement in these rebellions. After Alba came to the Netherlands, he started what was called the Council of Troubles, which found William and around 10,000 people to be guilty of these rebellions. And so Philip II sent out a prescription after that, and I'll read it here from a primary source. He said, "A proclamation and an edict in the form of a prescription made by the Majesty of the King our Lord against William of Nassau, Prince of Orange, as the chief captain and disturber of the state of Christendom, and specially of those Low Countries, by which everyone is authorized to hurt him and to kill him, as public plague, with the reward to him that shall do it, and shall be assisting and aiding thereunto." So at this point, William the Silent has fled back to the Holy Roman Empire with a price on his head. But that did not stop him from furthering involvement in the Netherlands. As he was hiding, he started the Watergiezen, or Sea Bakers, which was a group of men that would raid coastal cities. And these coastal cities were Catholic or Protestant. They didn't care about religion at this point, which was rather unfortunate. But they would raid these cities, and some were resistant, and there was bloodshed, and some surrendered right away because they wanted a Dutch prince to rule their city again instead of the Spanish. So as this was happening, William formed an army, and he also joined the French Huguenots after their Second War of Religion, and they invaded the Netherlands in 1568. This invasion lasted 3 months with 2 battles, and although it ended with the rebels losing, it did spark the beginning of the 8 Years' War, which was the Netherlands' ultimate push to religious freedom, and they ended up kicking out the Spanish. So although his invasion failed, he sparked a war that would eventually win for the Dutch. So moving on to the main topic, the assassination of William the Silent. He was assassinated by a Catholic named Balthazar Gerard, who heard Philip II's prescription and decided to go out and redeem that price on his head. So to start that, he joined the army of the Duke of Luxembourg from 1581 to 1584, hoping that he would meet Williams in battle and kill him. But that never happened. So in 1584, he left and came up with a new plan. He even said this new plan to the Duke of Parma, who rejected that plan and didn't have any faith that he would be able to execute it. However, he did. And so Gerard went to William as an aide for France in May, and William believed him, and he sent him on some missions to help him. And then in July, Gerard met up with William in William's home in Delft called the Prinsenhof. And so as he met up with him in July 1584, Gerard shot him 3 times. 2 of the bullets went through him and hit the wall, which is in the picture here, and one of them stayed in his gut. William died a couple minutes after the shots, and his last words were, "Lord, have mercy upon me, and remember thy little flock." There is some historical debate to the specifics of those words, but that carries out the main gist of what he said. So Gerard was caught right away after he assassinated William, and he was sent to a very gruesome death considered for that time. And so I'll read you the primary source that described what happened to Gerard after his assassination. It said, he had the first day strappado openly in the market. So strappado was when they would tie rope on the person and hoist him up to a high height and then drop him and catch him right before he fell to the ground. So the jolt would bring a lot of pain, and the fear of falling would be a form of torture. Carrying on, it says, the second day whipped and salted, and his right hand cut off. The third day his breasts cut out, and salt thrown in, and then his left hand cut off. The last day of his torment, which was the 10th of July, he was bound to 2 stakes, standing upright, in such order that he could not stir any way. Thus standing naked, there was a great fire placed some distance from him, wherein was heated pincers of iron, with which pincers 2 men appointed for the same did pinch and pull his flesh in small pieces from his bones throughout most part of his body. Then was he unbound from the stakes, and laid upon the earth, and again fastened to 4 posts, namely by his feet and arms. Then they ripped up his belly, at which time he had life and perfect memory. He had his bowels burned before his face, and his body cut in 4 several quarters. During the whole time of his execution he remained impotent and obstinate, rejoicing that he had slain the prince. So that was a very gruesome execution, but again, different and considered brutal in that time. But ultimately, his death after the assassination of William showed how angered the people were at the death of William the Silent. And so Lisa Jardin, the main historian on this topic, says that William was the first head of state to be assassinated with a handgun, the first assassination with a handgun being 13 years prior, but not of a head of state. This event in history was so impactful that even Elizabeth I, after hearing of this assassination, took extra precautionary measures because she was afraid that she would try to have attempts on her life with a handgun, as nobody really did that before, and now it could become popular. So the legacy of William of Orange carried on as his sons carried the line of royalty in the Netherlands. William III even became the King of England and Scotland with his marriage. And William of Orange, the first William, William the Silent, is so loved that the Netherlands flag, the coat of arms, and the national anthem all derives from his name. So William of Orange was very instrumental in Dutch's history, and pointing back to the wars of religion theme, William the Silent was very instrumental in starting a war of religion, the 8 Years' War, which was also for independence. And his assassination angered a lot of Dutchmen and showed the impact of firearms.